broadcasting in my DeLorean using the flux capacitor Olympia wrap-up.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Dave Palumbo here with another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. This is our Olympia wrap-up. As you heard from Chris Aceto, he hasn't even gotten home yet. He's in his car. I just got home a few minutes ago. I had a very long flight myself. It was a long weekend, Chris, but I have to say I think that you might be the winner of the weekend, because I said this in the wrap-up at the show. You had almost the Triple Crown. You and Derek both got the Triple Crown almost. You got the winner of the men's open bodybuilding, classic bodybuilding, and you just missed one place off on men's physique. So great weekend for you.
It was
and I know you didn't sleep the whole weekend.
well, I watched the wrap-up and everyone commented that I sounded drunk. I sounded like I was drunk. I mean, I couldn't put together sentences. And normally I struggle to put together sentences. So
No, seriously, I don't think people realize you don't, like, when I kid around and say you don't sleep, like, that means for most people, like, he slept 4 hours. Like, you literally do not sleep, right?
I did 38 hours with no sleep, running into the when I saw you. I guess it would have been including up to Saturday night. That was a 30 out. So for the Saturday finals, I had not slept at all for 38 hours.
Wow. And you know what? You were in a surprisingly pretty good mood, too. So.
Well, you know what? We were just discussing this about dieting. I was telling in the room with Derek and Matt Grego, I said, it doesn't matter, right, when you're a competitor, how tired you are, how exhausted you are. The first slice of pizza after a show, right?
You're out after that, yeah.
No, or you're like, oh, that prep wasn't all that bad. It wasn't too bad. So,
oh, you're talking about the competitors. I thought you meant you. Because when I'm exhausted and I'm overtired, if I eat something, that's it. I'm out after that. I can't keep my eyes open anymore.
Yeah, it was so rough. So I looked like a drunk Ellen.
Drunk Ellen. You had a good weekend. You guys did really good. How many top fives did you get all told?
I don't know. Andrew was,
because you had Andrew and Derek,
Ali, and Ramon.
Yeah.
But I had 11 people on the show in total.
Right.
It's technically 21 because it's 11 and Derek takes the equivalent of 10. 21.
Derek told me, actually on camera, he told me he was having a little bit of a problem backstage. He was freaking out. He said, which, I gotta give the kid credit. You know what? To do what he did. Back in the day, Milos used to compete in every show. Okay. But Derek competed in the 3 most competitive shows, of the year, essentially, and won them all. I mean, the consistency to be able to do that is unbelievable, because it's impossible to peak your body at its absolute best every single time, you go out there, much less 3 times. We talk about how the body needs a break, it needs a rest. How did you kind of give his body that rest that it needed so that you can, de-peak him and then re-peak him for all 3 shows? Because that's like magicians. That's like Chris Angel's stuff,
Well, Dave, we started 3 days after last year's Olympia. So he didn't, you know what I mean? 3 days after the Olympia, he was in some type of quasi, like a prep mode sort of, because it was not. I don't think there was much more than 18 weeks to the Arnold or whatever it may have been.
Right.
He's not had the time to, I think he went on a cruise right after the Olympia. It was a no victory cruise, and that was maybe he went away for like 5 days, decompressed a little bit, and then came back and got back into the swing of things. And the I think from the beginning all the way back there, what was he understood this idea that you can't fear losing. You might go to the Arnold. That's where it started. Is you could end up losing that show, and he was okay with losing that show, which he won, of course. But the idea that I could lose it. So it's a comment on his focus.
Some guys, Chris, I find can almost need like short-term goals in order to be successful. And I think Derek, if you give him too much time off, it's actually not good for him, for his head at least. Here's him and Hottie, kind of some good pictures of both of them. It was a close battle. It certainly was. I mean, according to the scorecards, I don't know if you looked at them. Derek won prejudging 6-9. Obviously, the lower score is the better. And then Hottie actually won the night show 7-8. But it was only a 1 point at the night show was essentially tied, and then I guess Derek had enough of a lead from the prejudging to clinch the victory by 2 points. But that's pretty damn good, if you ask me.
What do I always say? It's 2 Olympias in 1. There's a prejudging, which if you watch our wrap up, I think he had a very comfortable, I would say a very comfortable lead coming out of prejudging, and of course Hottie has the ability to, as he's shown a million times, metamorphosize in 24 hours, and he was just like Hottie rock hard for the finals. Plus, he was fuller for the finals.
Yeah, this is way fuller.
So I mean, there was clearly a distinction between his finals physique and his prejudging physique. Because watching the show with you at the finals, photo shots that I thought that were handily Derek's in prejudging. Notably, say for example, the back lat spread. Hottie's lat spread looked remarkably different a day later. It looked wider. It was certainly tighter, which is probably why it looked wider.
Yeah, and Hottie, I think two things I noticed that was one weaknesses that he didn't have before. His definitely his right leg. There's something wrong with it. He probably has some kind of a knee injury or something like that, or something that's not enabling him to train like he normally is. So his legs are not as dominant as they usually are. They're still really good, and the right leg is noticeably a little smaller. Okay, which we never saw from him. Pitting that against Derek's legs that are amazing too. That was one little chink in the armor I thought that Hottie had. His color at prejudging wasn't really that good, which is surprising because Hottie always has perfect color. Matter of fact, I always tell people, you want to see good coloring, look at Hottie Chopin, because he always has the best coloring. And I don't know what happened. It wasn't really that dark, but at night he came back with really, really good coloring, and he filled it out a little bit. You still see that right leg a little smaller than the left leg, but it was such a close contest that little silly things like that can make a big difference. And like I said, let me see if I pull that back. Let's go back to that. I mean, oops, that was what I wanted. Hold on, back to that. There we go. If you look at this pose, which is usually a very dominant pose for Hottie, I think Derek beats him in the back double.
I think. Well, hasn't Derek always beat him in the back double?
Yeah.
I think that Hottie, has been harder in the past. Certainly he was his, close to trademark at night, but we're still looking for the trademark hardness that he's had. He's being, we always think of the Hottie. He was zippered at night, but he was hyper zippered that year. He won the Arnold a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's his best ever. Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever duplicate that.
I mean, that hyper zipperedness is trouble for Derek for sure. For everybody, I mean, he beat a big Sampson at that show. That was a show that Sampson was gargantuan at.
If you take out the fact that you coached Derek and that I'm friends with Derek, okay, because obviously we are a little biased. We have to be because of that. Can you make a case for Hottie winning?
I always try to be unbiased.
Yeah.
No, because they're both short, and Hottie's. It's hard for someone Derek's height to negate his width on this everywhere. He's. I mean, he's abnormally wide, and his legs, at least in prejudging, were just ginormous. So a lot of width with giant legs, and he's hard to beat by somebody who's the same height.
For those of you who wondered, he won $600,000. Jake did not raise the prize money, which was, I think you had predicted he was going to, didn't you?
I did. I usually get those right.
I think it was a good move on his part. I think it was a good move. I'll tell you why it was a good move. Because it kind of ended the arms race, so to speak. Because now Arnold can say, all right, I'm bigger now. I'm 650. Although he's 650 for 2026. Maybe Jake will raise it for the 2026 Olympia. So Jake is still, I guess, higher, right, for the year 2025. But 2026, we might see that go up. They're moving the Olympia. They made the big announcement. I had already known about this, but they're moving the Olympia not out of Vegas, but they're going to keep it in Vegas. They're going back to the Orleans arena, which I think is a good idea because the Orleans hotel itself is kind of crappy, but the arena was really nice. It reminds me of the old Beacon Theater, which the Night of Champions used to be held at in New York City. It holds a lot of people. It's bigger. It's got a lot of parking. It's super easy to get to. And they're going to use the Palms Hotel as the hotel, the host hotel, I guess.
Oh, Palms is beautiful.
Yeah, didn't Mark Cuban used to own that?
He did used to own that. I don't know if he still does.
When he owned it back at like 15 years ago, that was a really fancy hotel when it first launched.
Yeah, because the surprise was he built like that type of luxury hotel off the strip.
Right, off the strip, exactly. Yeah.
And the question mark was like, why? And once it opened, and like rave reviews, didn't matter.
Yeah. So I think that's a good idea. I like the fact that they modified it a little. Look, Resorts is beautiful. I'm kind of sad that it's leaving there because I just got used to it. I finally know where everything is in the
no way. I know you're going to say that. Dave. You finally know where you're going.
I finally can find the theater and all the other places I have to go. I'll tell you, Aaron Sigerman invited me to this party on Friday night. It was in some crazy room, like you had to go through like secret doors to get there. In the Crockford, the Hilton is the Resorts Hilton. There's the Crockford, and then there's the Conrad. I was in the Conrad. The Crockford is like you got to go through the secret door, and then there's a special elevator that they have like someone waiting at the bottom who takes you up to the top, and then there's another woman who takes you through a secret door. They have to scan a key. You would never be able to find this in a million. Even a GPS couldn't find this room, Chris.
There's an upcharge, Dave. Every secret door you have to go through. You feel more important every single step of the way.
Yeah. But we got out so late Friday night, so I was really grateful that Aaron invited me because he had alcohol there. I had a few glasses of wine. He had some food, really good food there, and so I ate. I was talking up with everyone we know there. So thank you, Aaron Singerman, for that invitation. And we watched. You didn't go to the movie, that they screened. Dan Solomon. They had filmed the 60th anniversary. I want to make sure I get the title right of the movie. They had filmed the 60th anniversary of the Olympia last year, and they made a movie out of it. Mm-hmm. And what was it called? Olympia something or other? Let me make sure I get this right. By the way, I want to give a big shout out to Sid for doing a phenomenal job. Number one, when he did his announcing. I know you saw that. You heard that. But he did a great job with all the Arcs Muscle content and everything like that, and helping me and you and Kaz, our videographer, did a phenomenal job, and Ian Valier, who helped us with the wrap-ups, and who else helped us with the wrap? Oh, Rich Gaspari helped us on Friday night with the wrap-up.
Wesley
Vissers did a great job. Kyron Holden helped me with men's physique. So
I like when you have somebody like Wesley and Ian doing the wrap-ups because they're very analytical.
Yep.
They're experienced professionals, they are into detail and they are able to see it black and white, minus out emotion and bias, which ends up being a report. Unlike me, who's just the bias part of it.
You're really not. You're not biased. You're saying that, but you're really not. You're good. You're. I would say that you're probably, of all the coaches, you're probably the most honest. I would say. Let me pull up this thing here. So, all right. The movie was called just Dream Big, and I don't know where it's going to be released. I don't know if it's going on. I think it's going to Netflix. And if you want to know the history of like how the Olympia came about and bodybuilding and everything like that, it's really good, like technically like that. It gives you a real behind the scenes look at what it takes to put on the Mr. Olympia competition. It's not going to be like it's made by the guys from Generation Iron. They did it, and they try to like involve like the competitors too in there. But to me, it was more the best part of it was the behind the scenes of how this thing happens. So if that's something that you're interested in, I think a lot of bodybuilders want to know what happens behind the scenes. We see it because we're backstage and we can see all the operations, how they're getting ready and everything like that. But most people don't see that behind the scenes. So in that sense, Dan did a great job putting that all together. I think you guys will really like it. Like I said, I believe that it's either going to be on Amazon Prime or it's going to be on Netflix. So look for that to come out. It's called Dream Big, the Olympia story. And thank you, Dan, for inviting me to that screening. I actually, I sat next to Sean Ray the whole time.
Oh, you did.
Him and I shared a table, believe it or not.
You survived.
I survived. Yeah, I did survive. And Frank Zeppi was there too. We were all talking up the storm. Bob was there. The whole I always call it the old guard was all there.
I knew you were going to use those words. How crazy is that? I didn't predict the 600,000 increase, but I knew you were going to say the old guard quote.
All right, hold on. Let me pull up that the video. I want to show the video. It's a little bit. I thought that we had really good access all weekend, and I want to thank Dan and Jake for that too, because I like to sit as close as possible to the stage so that I can really get a bird's eye view of what's going on. So when we do these wrap ups, I can give good reporting. And we were sitting when we were in the expo watching the classic physique prejudging and the men's physique. We were sitting like right in the front row, and then I guess a whole bunch of people came and Jake was sitting next to me. He goes, I didn't know you were part of my Olympia crew. I said, I'm not. I said, but you mind if I sit here anyway? And he was like, no, you're good. So the good thing about Dan and Jake, as opposed to what used to be there in that place, when AMI was there, is that they get it. They want to see us do good coverage of the show. They don't break chops, and everything like that. Obviously you got to still run a strict backstage, and they can't let every Yahoo go back there. I know. I think Milos got into a fight with them back there. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I think Milos. I think Milos got kicked out. Yeah, backstage because he was going back because they can't let. I understand that. I told them. I said, don't worry about it. I understand.
I've never asked. I've never.
No,
asked
but you. But if they let you come back, like you got invited back there at one point, right?
For medical attention. Yes,
for medical stuff. But I'm saying they can't let every single person go back there because it's too chaotic back there. Yeah. And so they run a tight ship.
You can overcoach. People say, "You're going to go backstage." I'm like, for what? It's like over dieting. You can overcoach. What are you going to say? What are you going to do backstage in the last 90 minutes?
Right. But I know, these I think people like to go backstage because it makes them feel important. Personally, I enjoy sitting in the audience and watching the show. I was sitting next to Sergio.
Enjoying the show.
I was sitting next to Sergio the whole time. That's Sergio Oliva Jr. is more entertaining than watching a live stream commentary.
He brought dinner for my son, complete with like bottles of like barbecue sauce and hot sauce.
I saw it, and he bought me a drink too. So thank you, Sergio. But the point is that I understand that there has to be a certain level of security backstage and rules in place. but it can be done in a dignifying way and with respect, as opposed to a snobbish, arrogant way, which is the way it used to be done. And I think Tamer and his crew do a phenomenal job back there. Dan is a terrific diplomat, and Jake is a great owner. You know what? Jake sits with everyone else. He walks around the expo like a regular guy. I respect the hell out of that. If I own the Olympia, I do the same thing. You know, he doesn't ever try to portray himself as being more important than anyone else. And you know what? That's cool. I really think that's cool. And I think that's why people like going to that show. It has you get a good feeling going there, which we didn't get a lot in the past. In the past, it was like this snobbish like attitude, like, oh, you're not good enough to be here, you know, that kind of thing. You should be grateful you're here, that kind of thing. We should want everyone to be at that show. That this is our Super Bowl. This is what showcases bodybuilding at its greatest. You want everyone who's gonna, you know, cover this show in a positive way to be in that venue. And I'm glad that they're making a move next year, because I think that the limitation this year was that they didn't have enough seats. And a lot of people couldn't go because they couldn't get tickets. It was sold out.
Yeah, there was people with little cardboard signs that said tickets.
There was.
No, did you see that?
No, I didn't know. I saw it. You're not kidding. No, you're not
in
kidding.
the lobby,
No.
looking for tickets.
Yeah. So there was this little sushi hut. I call it. It looked like a tiki hut in the resorts. And I've been going there for 2 years now. It's the best sushi I've ever tasted. Their specialty is hand rolls. So everything, you don't get anything else there is not good. Now, they told me this last year. Only they're super fresh hand rolls. They make them as you eat one and they give you the next one. And they roll it in. It's so pristine, the sushi. It's mind-boggling. So I was going there twice a day. I would go there for lunch and I'd go there for like a dinner before we went to the shows. And I was doing this for like 2 or 3 days. They knew who I was already because they had my spot set up. They're like, the same? I'm like, yeah, the same. You know, I'm a total creature of habit. So the Saturday I go there with John Romano and DJ's there. And Dana Lynn Bailey's there. And I'm like, Dana, are you done eating? Can you get up so we can sit down? She's like, I come here twice a day. And I said, don't tell me you ordered the General. The General was like 5 hand rolls. That's their specialty. She's like, yeah, how do you know? Because I come here twice a day, order the same exact thing. She's like, isn't it the best sushi you've ever tried? I said, yeah, it's awesome, man. And so I always say that real bodybuilders love sushi. I know you do too. And so it was like an unspoken word. Every day, everyone was there at the same exact times, and it was hysterically funny because no one coordinated being there. We just all were hungry at the same time, and the breaks between all the shows, the expo, the night show, the morning show, they were all the same. So you only have so much time to go get food, and they, for some reason, they would serve you in like 10 minutes. You can be in and out of there. And so that was my go-to place. The reason I'm revealing it now is because we're not going to be there next year, so I'm not going to ruin it for myself. Normally, when I tell people the secret locations of the best food, the next year when I go there, I can't even eat because it's mobbed by people.
It's the Dave Palumbo effect.
Yeah, it's the Dave Palumbo effect. So next year, I will tell you one thing about the Orleans Hotel. Now, and this is for the people who are thinking about going to the Olympia, because if you go next year, you really can do it in a very economically feasible way because the Orleans Hotel, the Orleans Arena holds a lot of people. So they're going to sell a lot more tickets. They'll probably have cheaper tickets too available that they couldn't do at this arena because every seat is great in this arena. Also, if you don't want to spend a fortune, like I think that the resort's hotel was like $350 a night. Probably was more than that with taxes. In the Orleans, you could actually get rooms. I think during the week it's like $49 a night, Chris, and then the weekends, right? The weekends they go up to $99.
The quality of the room is the same as Palms.
Now the hotel is not the greatest hotel, and there's a lot of people walking around, with oxygen tanks, smoking cigarettes, but it's not terrible. The hotel, I've stayed there, many times, and it's really not that bad. So if you have a shoestring budget and you want to go to the Olympia, stay at the Orleans Hotel. You don't need, you just take an Uber from the airport. You don't even ever have to leave there. The arena is right next door. They have a food court in the Orleans Hotel. I can tell you, I've been there a lot. They got Sparrows Pizza. They got, Fuddruckers. They actually have elk burgers at Fuddruckers. I don't know have you ever had an elk burger?
I have not.
You have or you haven't?
I have not had an Olympia.
Oh, okay. You sound like you're fading a little bit, so I'm trying to keep you a little aroused a little bit here with food, because I figure you probably haven't eaten for about 12 hours if I know you.
No.
So anyway, if you're gonna next year, if you're booking your trip, book it early. Get your room. I'm sure they're gonna have some bodybuilder rates at the Orleans Hotel too, probably, or at least at the Palms they will. And then, get your elk burger at Fuddruckers there. They do have a nice food court, I will tell you that. So I'm looking forward to next year's Olympia already. All right, let's talk about the show a little bit. What we talked a little bit about Derek versus Hottie. Looking at the scorecards, Chris, I don't know if you're aware, but Hottie, Samson and Andrew in third and fourth were very, very close. Matter of fact, Samson, I think, just lost by 1 point at prejudging to Andrew, and then Andrew pretty convincingly beat him unanimously at the finals. A lot of people thought that Samson, myself included, could have Andrew could have been as high as second place in this lineup. What was your take on Samson? Obviously, you worked with him as well. How high could he have gone? Could you justify him winning?
You mean Andrew I worked with, not Samson.
Andrew, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think Andrew gave Derek and Hottie a little bit more push than I thought Andrew could have won the night show.
Based on what?
Remarkable conditioning, most striding quads in the show, fantastic glutes, peeled at the night show, very hard prejudging. He dwarfs everybody in height. His front lat spread, front double are astounding. His ab shot is astounding. He's a freak show.
For a big guy, he's got insane abs. Yeah.
He's got tie-ins. He's just remarkable to look at. I think what would, you had made the comment that Derek does good in the lineup. Nick Walker does a good in the lineup one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, if Nick Walker, who's a mass monster, is standing next to Hottie, the contrast in physique is monumental. They're not even the same. They're not even apples and oranges. They're not. One's a fruit and one is like, steak. And I think if Andrew compared one-on-one in a one-on-one call-out versus Derek or
Hottie,
you start to judge them both differently. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I think if there was a two-person call-out, things could have been a little different. I actually thought running in the last day, I thought it was going to come down to Andrew and Derek.
Andrew was very, very shocking. How much he improved. He brought better conditioning. He brought more size. He filled in a lot of the gaps that he was missing last year.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what he's going to do over the course of the next, several months. But he's a genetic wonder for sure. And when they finally, we've been waiting for this call out for a couple of years now. They finally put Andrew and Samson one-on-one right next to each other. And obviously, I think that's when Samson was completely exposed by Andrew, and Andrew really dominated him. I think that's when people, and probably the judges, realized that there's no way we can put Samson ahead of Andrew. He's just too good. I think that the criticism that I got on Andrew, or the constructive criticism, I should say, in the final wrap-ups even, was that his presentation has not caught up to the quality of his physique. So maybe he's not showing off those gifts that he has to his best advantage. And we've talked about that, you and I. I think he's got to work on that in the offseason and really hone his craft a little bit. He's creative. Like when he poses in his routine, he's really good. Like he did that insane split. I couldn't even believe that he did a split at his size. That is very impressive. But, Kai Green was always a really good, entertaining poser. And then when he would do mandatories, he was very unconventional, and that hurt him a lot against Phil. So I think Andrew's got to work on the presentation part of it. But I think, whatever formula you guys got going for this show, it worked. And I think a lot of people were really impressed. And, let's face it, Lee Haney said it. Good big man always beats a good little man. And so I think once Andrew puts on maybe another 5 pounds, it's going to be game over.
I mean, that's why, not to beat a dead horse, but that's my point in like a Hardy versus on stage alone, or Derek on stage alone versus Andrew. I mean, the results might have been the same, but the impact or the contrast is different, as opposed to two short guys and two tall guys all being compared, because they all look good, different. They look different and good in certain poses,
Right. Doing a split like that, Chris, is impressive in itself. Try to hit a double bicep while you're doing it at the same time without falling over. That is truly a gift. Think about it. He's balancing his body with just his legs, but he's not. It's like it's just his knees are balancing his body, because it's very easy to fall over. Remember, he doesn't have an arm on the floor right there. That's a very impressive pose he hits right there. People don't realize how hard that is, right there. Watch that. That is off the charts. Seriously. Let me see if he has it. We have it. There's some more pictures. Routine was really good. Definitely, it was good. I'm surprised they didn't give a Best Poser award.
Yeah, he was just so sharp at night. He was sharp and prejudging, but he just had like a little bit more 3D quality to him at the night show, and he was just phenomenal.
He was the most shocking competitor, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't think a lot of people suspected that he was going to be up that high. They thought they were going to see what they saw last year, and he would be beaten by a lot of these, other guys like Nick Walker and obviously Samson. But a lot of people thought Samson was going to win. Talking about Samson, I know we talked about this in the wrap-up, but it warrants us going over one more time. What was the problem with Samson in your mind, and what do you think he did wrong leading up to this show? Because a lot of people thought the guest posting that he did several weeks ago, he looked amazing, and we were all like, oh my God, this guy's going to come in here and he's going to win this Olympia. What went wrong in your mind?
I mean, he was a little too small. And, Andrew came in bigger and harder. So, he wasn't the big guy in the first and last call out of 4. It was Andrew. So it made him look not extra small, but it just made everyone come to the conclusion that he was too small. I mean, yes, he was smaller than he was in the past, not as round, but more detailed. But he had to stand next to Andrew, and that made him look small. And of course, Hardy, for their height, and Derek Derek's super round, and Hardy's, of course, built to the hilt, so he couldn't really technically give up any size if he's going to be in the contention to win.
Right. And this shot right here, you can see even his arms look down in size here, and that's not, Samson has huge arms normally,
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking for is, what people are looking for always is the ultimate. They're looking for like that colossal Arnold look with more detail.
Right.
And some of the judges, the judges are expecting like the extreme, meaning your absolute best, and the absolute best would be what you usually bring, which is a massive physique, but the detail of Hardy. I mean, that's what, you know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a question. I know what the answer is going to be, but let me ask you this question. He does look harder. He was harder on stage, okay, than he has been. Okay, so I don't want to take away from the fact that he did do his work. You can tell he worked hard because he wanted to come in with conditioning that they were expecting from him. However, he downsized. He lost muscle size, or at least something went wrong while he was trying to get that better conditioning. Is it possible that, he just doesn't have enough muscle yet, and that when he comes down to a size where he is in really good shape, he's just not as big, and that the bigness on his body is when he's really kind of a little off, he's really not in contest shape yet. Everyone's bigger when they're not in contest shape. The muscle's fuller, you got a little bit of fat, coating things and giving you a little extra boost. Is it possible that Samson just needs to be a little bit bigger, muscularly speaking, so that he can come down? Because let's face it, Dorian Yates told me, he goes, I could have competed, he said, at 275. He goes, I was still pretty crazy hard. He goes, but I went to have the level, the shrink wrap look, and to me that was more important. But Dorian had so much muscle that he could afford to do that. I think Samson's just on the borderline of having enough muscle, and when he brings it down enough to get himself shrink wrap shredded, he's too small.
Yeah, well, that would be like, yes, that I agree with that, because
Okay.
I mean, couldn't Derek and Hardy, first and second, come in? All of them, they could come in
Bigger.
still look really hard at 4 pounds bigger,
Right.
but would be saying, wow, this is their biggest look to date, but it's just not sharp enough.
Right. And if that is the case, what I said is true, and it seems like you're agreeing with me that he just needs to put a little bit more muscle on, it might behoove him to take off a good chunk of the year and maybe just focus on the Olympia next year.
Well,
grow.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of competing, is what I'm saying.
He's done a lot of shows in the last
Yes.
3 years. Lots.
I know the money is good, and I know he wants to make that money at the Arnold, but I think it would be in his best interest to take the full year off, put on another 6-7 pounds, which is probably all he needs in the right places, and keep you, don't get too crazy big where you're going to be sloppy. And to be honest with you, I've never seen Samson sloppy. Even when he's huge, he looks pretty lean. And just let your body just rest and recover and grow. Because I think he's still improving. And then I think if he comes back to the Olympia next year with the added muscle size, with this good conditioning now that he brought this year, I think that's the look that's going to, push him back into the conversation again and have people saying looks like a Mr. Olympia again. But it does look like he really pushed hard for this. And I think he just went a little overboard. But that's pretty much where he went.
Yeah. I mean, isn't hindsight 2020,
Yeah, but he's never peeled it down to the point where he was crazy shredded. So until you do that, you don't know what you got to work with and how much you need to put on,
Yeah.
I mean, you've worked with plenty of guys. You get them in the best shape of their life, and they're like, I'm too flat. I got small. No,
That happens all the time.
That's the muscle you have on your body. That's what you look like. Go work on putting more muscle on.
You didn't carb me up enough.
Right. No, I can't carb you up anymore. You just need to put more muscle on. That's the answer to the question. All right, I got to play this thing you sent me. Does Derek know who this guy is? This Nacho guy?
Yeah, I sent it to Derek.
I know you sent it to me, but does he know who
Derek loves Trump and wanted to stay at the Trump Hotel, and I said, I can't stay there. I got 11 people plus you, which makes it 22. So I said, you have to stay where I'm staying.
Trump probably was going to give him a free room,
Oh yeah.
All right. So who's this guy in relation to Derek? Just a fan?
Just someone on Instagram.
All right. Watch this. This is great.
This is the 47th President, Donald J. Trump. You might have heard of me. And I've got a big, beautiful message for Derek Lunsford. I mean, what a tremendous name. Derek, I know that you are competing to be the top bodybuilder. You might already be the top bodybuilder in the world. besides me, behind me, you know, because, you know, people don't know, but under the suit, I'm jacked. I'm actually jacked. The CMN, the MSNBC, ABC, they don't talk about it. It's so sad. And Derek, I know you're thinking, you know, how does the president know? Your buddy Chris would have Trump. I mean, so handsome. We love Chris, don't we? But, you know, Chris, he reached out. We love him so much. And he's so connected. He knows the president. He wanted me to wish you good luck on the competition. You know, you're going to be lifting weights at numbers never seen before in the gym in preparation for the bodybuilding. You know, you're able to build your body huge, even bigger than the Trump Tower. And I didn't even think that was possible. Now, Derek, you walk into a room and people, they go, whoa. They go, who's this guy? This guy, you know, the big muscle man. The ladies, they're saying, some are saying maybe too much. Some are saying maybe not enough. And some, the Goldilocks, they go, ooh, that's perfect. We love to see it. You know, it's so beautiful. And, you know, with my immigration policy, now you've been able to, you know, worry less about that and focus more on the bodybuilding, which is so tremendous, isn't it? So we love you so much, Derek. I hope you win the competition. Let me know if you do. Have Chris or, I don't know, have somebody reach out. I want to know. I'm rooting for you, Derek. So we love you so much, Derek. I'll talk to you later. This has been the 47th President, Donald J. Trump.
That was great. Phenomenal. I was laughing my ass off watching it. Very good. I wonder, he doesn't even look like he works out, that guy. I wonder if he's just a fan? Is that what he is?
No, just an impersonator. That's it.
Yeah. So you reached out to him and told him that.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I got you.
I knew Derek would love it.
Yeah, no, he's gonna love that. All right, let's talk Nick Walker, because Nick Walker was the biggest story going into one of the biggest stories going into Olympia. We saw massive pictures of him online on Instagram. I mean, the guy was mind-bogglingly big and ripped and veiny and freaky looking, and he actually predicted victory at I think it was the press conference, right? Or right before that or something like that. And he came in, he finishes in sixth position out of the placings. Unfortunately for him, making Bob Ciccarello look like he's a genius, and you know, because Bob said he would not place top 5, and he took a lot of heat for that. So we got to give Bob credit on that one. He called that one. And I got to just say right off the bat, number one, Nick looked great. I thought he was in great shape. He had good muscle size. He did everything he had to do. When he came out alone on stage, I thought, hey, this guy brought it. He really is at his best. But when he was up in that lineup, he just didn't pop out, and nothing really. I think he got what I know he got what he deserved. What's going on with Nick Walker?
Well, we just discussed it when I said, you know, an interesting call out would be Andrew versus Derek or Hardy alone. Alone in a two-person call out, you know, Nick versus Hardy, your eyes would go to either Hardy's condition or you'd say like Nick's dwarfing him. But when you put so many different physiques up there all at once, 8 people on a first call out, the first thing you recognize is that he's massive. The second thing that you recognize is the V taper and the legs look short. No matter how big he is. So you start to discount what you see because, quote, the shape is off.
I mean, that's a big conditioned bodybuilder right there. That's freaky big and conditioned. And if you saw that alone and then someone told you he placed sixth, they wouldn't believe you if they didn't see the contest. That's exactly what you're talking about, Chris.
Yeah. It's what, you know, it's not only what you see in front of you, but what you see collectively with everyone else in the lineup. And so, you know, if your eyes just don't go to him when you have, you know, Andrew, Sampson, taller guys with very small waists, and
even Martin here.
And Derek, I'll get to Martin, but Derek and Hardy, who in their stance, they give an appearance of, whether it shows up in video or not, in person, they got a crazy, like either midsection or V taper, and so your eyes don't go to the odd person out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was as low as, to me, you know, he was definitely lower than six based on the call outs. I mean, the score shot cards may not reflect what he got in prejudging, but I think he was outside the top six in prejudging based on the way they were moving them around.
Yeah, I mean, you could have really made a case for the guy placing. I hate to say the number eighth, but he could have been eighth, really. I mean, if you think about it, only because Brandon Curry really got overlooked here. I thought Brandon was better than him, and I thought Tonio Burton was better than him. Just from a pure bodybuilding perspective, competing on a stage with just better symmetry. And what happened with Nick also, and I said this in the wrap up, I'm going to say it again because I know Nick watches all our programming. If you don't get the call outs you want, despite what you were envisioning for yourself, you can't let it affect you negatively, because once you start thinking negatively in your head, all the cortisol starts pouring out of your body and your body falls apart. And that happened to Nick at the prejudging. It was like you could see psychologically he was completely drained when when he wasn't getting the call outs he wanted, and he should have just kept his composure and been Nick Walker. Got more aggressive, got more in people's faces, moved up on the line, did his thing, because that's what the fans want to see. We don't want to see a depressed, sad Nick Walker up there. We want to see Nick Walker get angry because he doesn't like his call-outs and work his way back into that first call-out. We've seen it from other bodybuilders that have done it in the past, and Nick is no different. Not everyone gets the call-out they want initially, but Steve Weinberger is very fair, and he lets you work your way back in, even if he thinks that you didn't belong there to begin with. And we've seen it happen time and time again. Brandon worked his way back in. Martin, Martin could have been fourth at that show. I mean, he could have beat Samson. Samson's big, but he was just not the good Samson we wanted to see. And he kept working and working and working. And Brandon was the same way, Antonio Burton. So you can't give up just because you don't like that you're in the second call out, because you're all professionals up there, and not everyone gets the call out they want. And so I think Nick Walker has to focus on that and not worry about, how am I going to compete next year against these guys? What if I don't do well? Just be Nick Walker. That means get bigger, get harder, freakier, be outrageous on social media like you are. Say what you want to say. The fans love you, Nick. And that's what makes you special. You will make more money than all these guys because you're so popular. And I think you got to find your own niche, right? And that's his niche, Chris. He might not be Mr. Olympia, one day, but he'll always make a really good living from bodybuilding.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't win the head figure.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't win and I think if he would have championed that whole Nick Walker persona and not gotten sad and depressed and kind of got demoralized by the whole thing, he probably might have gotten the People's Champ. I think that people knew that Hottie wasn't going to win the show, and I think that's why it was almost like a consolation prize for him, the People's Champ Award. And he seems to be the underdog favorite, all the time of the internet people.
He got 23 million votes from Iran.
That'll push you over the top for sure. Right there. You know what the difference is, Chris? The Iranians actually like bodybuilding and they watch it, whereas we probably the Olympia. If you looked at the demographics of the live stream, probably more people from the Middle East watch it than the United States, which is kind of sad. But that's just the way it is. That's the way it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, let's talk about classic physique. What a exciting, battle between Ramon Dino and Mike Sommerfeld. But we have to really start before we talk about the coverage with what went on prior to this. So, what was it, about a week or two? But for a couple of weeks prior to the show, everyone was bitching and complaining about the fact that they're not hiding these guys properly. Now, a couple of years ago, we had a problem with Ramon making weight because he was always a certain height, and then he went to the Olympia and he was heighted in at a lower height, and he had to lose an exorbitant amount of weight, right? What year was that? 2-3 years ago?
He had,
Chris?
like everyone knows, it was 2023. He had to make the weight, and he failed to make the weight.
But wasn't it because he was hiding it at a lower height?
No.
Oh.
No. What happened was he had to make the weight. I knew what the weight was. We left the hotel room, and my top priority only was to make the weight. And we went to weigh-ins, and he didn't make the weight, and we didn't have much time. And so we went back to the hotel room, and I like locked him into the bathroom, turned the hot water on, and sat in the tub. And he was extremely dehydrated. And we walked in late to the weigh-in, and they weighed him in, and he made the weight. So because he was so depleted, apparently, he went and they measured his height, and they said, "You're not tall enough."
Oh my God.
And just a little tidbit, there were two people in that room checking that height and weight. One was Chris Bumstead, one was Hanny Rambod. Like
because they were worried about him. Yeah,
like Logan Franklin, who said that Ramon Dino would not make the weight. They thought he wouldn't make the weight, but nobody expected him not to make the height.
Right.
Got it? So when they heighted him in, not only did they height him in, his feet were held on the platform.
Are you serious?
So that he would not cheat. So this is why this is the best show on bodybuilding, heavy muscle radio. That's a fact. His feet were held, which is fine because there are rules. Only this past week, do I see pictures of, at the same show, Chris Bumstead wearing a wig being measured in this much taller.
You mean last year's show?
No, it was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years. So you're at the same show you're talking about. The same
years
show.
Ago.
Okay, the same
and
show.
And then last year we saw, the weird hairdos on the Liberace hairdo on
Urs,
and we saw the woodworker hairdo on.
You're funny, Chris.
On
Mike.
And the point is I did not know that people would show up at height-ins with an idea that I am going to come in and skirt the official height based on my hairdo. That is not fair in the context of 2 years ago. I just told you what happened. Ramon did not make the weight, and he made the weight, and then everyone was surprised. The people on the scale were surprised that when they put the thing on his head, they did it like 4 times and said, "You're not tall enough anymore." And he only had 15 minutes to make the height. That was a gut punch because in my head, it never factored in. You spend all this time trying to make the weight, and now, you're a different height. And I ask people, and they're like, "These are the rules. You have to be a certain height and weight, and rules are rules." I did not know that other people, I just named them,
cheated.
So I don't know how we got to this point, but as you know, a week before, an email was sent out that said, you must be, we're not giving you an ounce on the scale, and we're not going to give you a centimeter on the height. And that's no problem if it applies to everyone.
Right.
And so, the way I look at it is rules are rules. And these are, a reinforcement of what the rules should be. I don't know what happened is in the past, how it got out of hand where, apparently someone told me, I don't know if it's true or not, but Urs had that hairdo so he could make the weight.
I don't blame him if it was working. Yeah, it's not his fault. It's the judges.
No,
it's the people who height in's fault.
He did it. Sommerfeld did it. Bumstead did it.
Right. Right.
Ramon didn't do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Every pound counts
Sure.
because I've always said in the past, and I've said it a million times on the show. I sent you, Dave, pictures, hotel room pictures, and which you could. I used to send people who I know like pictures of Eduardo, and they'd say this guy is unbeatable in the 212s, and I'd say,
Right.
well, he weighs, it's going to be a lot of hard work, um, and going to take a lot of creativity to get him down to the 212. And when you're down to 212, when you're not really technically a 212 bodybuilder, you're almost on the edge of being a good open bodybuilder.
Right.
Those last even 2 pounds can make a humongous difference. And the point is, look at Hardy. He's probably 2 pounds lighter, or maybe three for the night show, and he looked like blazing versus
Right.
really hard in prejudging. So everything counts. So when you have rules in place and they're not applied to everyone all the time evenly, it gets into this really gray, critical, messy area where accusations are made into like, are why aren't we measuring people the way they should be measured?
Right. Right.
Because on the scale, you couldn't come to you can quote cheat on with these hair, with hairstyles, but you couldn't go. There would never in a million years, if you have to be 100 kilos, come to the weigh-in and you say, oh, I'm 101. They say, okay, you're good enough. Get off the scale.
No, no, it's not gonna happen. No, definitely not. Definitely not gonna happen.
So by definition, when you're cheating on the height, you're actually cheating on the weight.
Well, yeah, you're giving yourself the ability to weigh more. 100%, Chris. And
There were people who said, "Oh, I didn't make the weight." Yes, you did make the weight. You just didn't make the height. It's so funny that people say, "Oh, I didn't make my weight class." You made it. You're the same weight as last year. You didn't make the height.
let's look at someone posted something here. Let's see. Let's look at Mike Sommerfeld from 24 to 25 right there. So he was 10 pounds lighter, right?
I don't know what the parameters for him, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he was down. He was so when all was said and done, and they heighted these guys in. Mike went down a height class, so he had to drop about 10 pounds, I think. And I know Neil Hill was his coach was very upset. I think there was a real. I don't know if I could find it.
That they were going to actually take a legitimate height versus a.
He made it seem as though it was like a negative type of thing, but I really, if you think about it, it really was a positive thing because at least they told these guys when think about it, when Ramon went there, you didn't know until you got to the weigh-in that this was going on, right? I mean,
No, that's not the context. He had always heighted in the exact same, and because he was dehydrated, he shrunk.
no, I know that, but what I'm saying is that he wasn't giving any advance notice. In other words, all these guys were given a week's advance notice. Hey, listen, we're going to height you in correctly, so you better make sure that you're going to make your weight for your height. And so, if anything, the competitors should say thank you for that because that they gave the ability to make a change. So I think I found the video. Hold on, let me see. And Neil's a great coach and everything like that, but you can't be mad at the system. This is the way it works. Everyone's got the same rules.
So we never did anything all year or since the last show to prep for this. So are we going to make height and weight? We'll have to wait and see. Because we spent 6 months prepping for the show, 6 months to make weight. Not six. And then, and the thing is, why did they change the rules? How can you justify changing something last minute?
They really didn't change it last minute. They just said we're gonna make sure that the heights are accurate. I think that was a. You know what? They could have not done anything, Chris. We've seen stuff like that happen in the past. I think the fact that they actually listened to the social media outcry about this and the height discrepancy because people were putting pictures up with how they were hiding these guys in because they were taking pictures. I think the fact that they actually responded to the IFBB and said, "Listen, we're gonna make sure we really enforce these rules this time." To me, that's the right thing to do. I mean, right? Because if they would have said, "Screw it, who cares?" that would have been really corrupt, I think. So I don't know what anyone's complaining about. I mean, they did the right thing, right?
Well, that video, I translate the video as, "Why aren't you allowing me to cheat?"
It doesn't make sense because and Neil is a very logical guy. I think maybe he just felt, they worked so hard at to shoot for a certain weight, and now that's changing. But it happened to you and Ramon 2 years ago, and you didn't even know about it till you showed up at the weigh-in.
No, Dave, you're conflating issues. You're missing the point.
I'm not. No, I'm not conflating issues.
No. That video, I'm translating that video. Why aren't you allowing us to cheat on the height? It sounds a little tough, but that's what it is. And my point was that people apparently have come up with these creative hairdos, or they've at times allowed that the top of the height measurement to come in and touch the top of their hair.
Right. No, I know that.
To measure their height. In Ramon's case, he knew the weight, he knew the height. Because he was too dehydrated, he couldn't make what was always his height. So therefore, they said 2 years ago, you are not meeting the height criteria, and you won't be able to compete. And you have 20 minutes. And
he got stretched out, right, by someone. Someone
stretched out, and he made the extra 2 centimeters.
Yeah.
So it's different than we weren't going to a weigh-in and hoping that they would, Ramon has some type of creative hairdo with mousse up another 5 centimeters, and they would put the top of the height measurement on top of that hairdo.
Right. Given the fact that Mike had to make a lighter weight, which he did, thank God. Love Mike. Love the guy. The guy's a great guy. I feel bad for him, but you know what? Those are the rules of the rules. It happened to Ramon. It happened to other people, too. It wasn't just Mike that had to go down. There were guys that had to go and kill themselves to make that weight. Michael DeBull had a big problem making that weight. So these guys all eventually made it. Great, which is good. But the look was different. Mike at 10 pounds heavier at the Arnold is devastating. I mean, Mike 10 pounds lighter is a little more vulnerable, and his legs weren't quite as big, and I think that opened the door for Ramon to come in and win the show. It was still very close. Give me your analysis of these two guys against each other.
Very close. Very close.
I mean, what was? Give me the breakdown of like what you saw between the two of them.
I thought that. I couldn't make up my mind after prejudging. I knew for sure nothing was clear cut. In my mind, I knew for sure. I thought that judges would lean towards. Some judges may lean towards Ramon, some towards Mike, because they're both fantastic. But at the night show, I thought that Ramon was like fuller, denser, harder, and I thought it would be unanimous, not closer to more ones for Ramon at night. But I looked at the score sheets, and it was, I think, a point in both prejudging and final.
Yeah.
The irony is, Mike came down. He still looked crazy because his condition was better, even at a lighter weight, than when he's heavier.
What's interesting is that they only had one score on the scorecards for the.
I thought they had two.
I only see one.
Sure?
It says judging. There was nothing for the finals written there.
Okay, then maybe I just read it twice.
I don't know why, but I mean, it was a 1-point decision. I mean, Ramon won by 1 point, literally. So I thought that, when I was talking to people in the audience and asking them, I think people felt that Ramon had more of a classic physique look versus Mike, who's more of a bodybuilder. And I think the fact that Mike's size that was down a little bit, he was more vulnerable to Ramon, because in the past he would outsize Ramon a little bit, and that's why I was always very suspicious of. I'm like, how the heck did this guy make weight? I love his physique, you know. He's one of the best posers I've ever seen in the classic division, but I'm like, I don't know how he's making weight. And obviously, it was the hairdo trick, and a lot of them were doing it. So it wasn't just Mike, you know. And I'm glad that everything got straightened out and got done the right way. And Ramon, is he the first Brazilian Olympia champ in the men's division?
In the men's division.
Yeah. So he fell to the ground. He was overwhelmed with emotion. It was a great experience to watch him. I mean, you could tell he legitimately was just thrilled to death, and the Brazilian fans love that. Obviously, right? I mean, they're so passionate. The Brazilian. I wish the American fans were that passionate about bodybuilding.
He was like trending #1 on Google Brazil and X, and CNN Brazil did a big story, and all the news, blah blah blah. All the mainstream news in Brazil covered it.
That's
I
awesome.
think this tells a lot, Dave. This tells a lot of their, I think Ramon's structure, like with the shoulders, this is them, I think, waiting for first.
Yes.
And when you see him just right there, there's the taller, bigger guy.
Well, I mean, that's why Bumstead ostensibly beat Sommerfeld, right? Last year, better structure.
Well, I mean,
Mike was bigger.
Yeah, he was bigger, actually.
A lot of people thought Mike should have won last year, but we at the end of the day, the analysis was that Bumstead was a more classic look, and I think the same took place with Ramon here. I thought Mike was a very good sport about it. He did not get upset. He congratulated him, and I thought that was a true champion does that. So that's great.
This class to judge. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a little bit. It's a lot of people can judge the men's Open Olympia. First through like 16. There were like 80 guys in the class.
Yeah.
What a hard class to judge.
Oh, I know.
There's people who got 11th, 12th, 15th, 18th, didn't place. There were a lot of good physiques in that division.
Third place, Terrence Ruffin. I know you love Terrence Ruffin. You can't say enough great things about Terrence Ruffin.
Yeah, this was his all-time best combo of everything. Size, shape, balance. He got bigger. He looks more conditioned, even bigger. You want to look at. He's looking absolutely incredible.
He's a great
phenomenal bodybuilder.
Yeah, he's great. There he is, right there. I'll tell you one thing about Terrence Ruffin. Of all the routines I watched, and I watched every routine. This is the first year I actually sat and watched all the routines because I was sitting next to Sergio, who was making me laugh the whole time. So I actually enjoyed watching everything because I wanted to sit next to him and bullshit with him the whole time. And I'll tell you, Terrence Ruffin had the best routine of the night. The guy is a masterful poser. Reminds me of Melvin Anthony. He knows how to entertain a crowd. He knows how to get people pumped up. His routines are there were guys who go out there, and there was a guy, I don't even want to say, but someone went out there and posed to Michael Jackson, like something that Kai would pose to. Not his physique at all. I think it was Martin who did it. I don't remember who did it. But you gotta put some effort into your posing routine. I mean, and Terrence, you could tell, spends an enormous amount of time choreographing his routine to every beat of the music, and he brought down that crowd. If there was the best poser award given out that night, he would have won it for sure, no doubt. And and you know what? The only knock against him is he's short. And we always say, especially in classic, a good big man beats a good little man. And he's any other show of the year, he probably wins in that shape.
Well, I mean, if Mike is at close to his best or Ramon close to his best, he's incredible.
Right? It's crazy how good he is. I mean, he's inches, multiple inches shorter than these guys, and he's holding his own against them. But you can see the difference and how tall they are compared to him, and that really does count at the end of the day. It sucks that it does, but it does. I mean, you could really theoretically you could probably, and I don't want any more classes. You could make a short and a tall class for the classic, like they used to have back in Arnold's day. No, you remember in Arnold? If you want to really make it,
there'd be 100. Well, they changed the qualification. Let's say you'd have 160 people qualify for the Classic Olympia.
or do it this way. Don't do it for the regular season. Only for the Olympia, have a short and tall class. Make it more interesting, and then the short and tall guy goes, competes against each other for the overall. Only at the Olympia, though, you do that. Like Franco used to compete against Arnold, for the overall. And you can justify doing it because that's what they did in the classic years, right? When everyone had the classic physique. So do it again. Why not? Terrence wins the short class. Ramon wins the big class. Final pose down against those. The crowd would go nuts over that, I would love it. I think it would be a great idea. But I don't want to see high classes like in the shows during the year. I only want to see it for the Olympia. Because otherwise, you're right. We're gonna have too many people qualified. Too many. I already think, and I might as well go on the record and say this. I already think that they had like 45, I think. I don't even remember. It was over 40 guys in the classic physique, and every person at prejudging got to do their routine or whatever. There's 60 seconds.
Yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was like 80 for sure.
It wasn't 80. It wasn't 80.
Definitely more than 45. It had to be more than 45.
Let me see. So you got 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's probably about 40 something. But the point is that, that takes like 2 hours, to do the posing, If you were doing the NPC Nationals and they had 40 people in the heavyweight class, they would do an elimination round, which means you come out like they always do. You do your quarter turns, you hit a couple shots, go backstage, and they would pare it down to the 15 guys. The other guys would leave. The 15 guys would do their routine. There's 60 seconds of free posing, and then they'd come back for comparisons. They should do the exact same thing at the Olympia. There's no reason to let 45 people pose. It's too much. And it happened with the men's physique and the bikini too. It takes too long. That's my only criticism of the whole weekend. Otherwise, everything ran smoothly. People ask me, did you agree with the judging? I said, I actually agreed with every decision they made, pretty much. Men's physique, I don't know. What did you think about men's physique? Let's talk about it. Obviously, you had a horse in that race, Ali Bilal.
I think it's. I see. Ali from the front, and Ryan's got a better back.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm biased. That's the division I'm definitely biased in.
Well, Ali has the best abs ever, right? I mean, let's face it. The guy's he's an ab freak, And it's hard to, to take your eyes off those abs when he's on stage. Is it enough to win? I don't know. I thought his back was good. A lot of people say his chest needs more fullness. I like Ryan Terry's physique. I'm not overly thrilled. All the debate lately, Chris, with everyone saying, well, not everyone, but people saying, well, we should use AI to judge it. And they're always putting the results into AI. And I think someone said they put AI in and they said Andrew Jack should have won the show, according to AI. Well, I put the men's physique lineup, which no one does that. And they said that Aaron Banks should win. So I don't think AI is such a great judge because Aaron looked great, but he certainly wasn't the winner in my mind at that show. Yeah. He definitely deserved what he got, and he's a great competitor with great structure. But at the end of the day,
I'm no expert in men's physique by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But I did watch the prejudging, and Ryan and Ali were surprisingly 80 people, whatever they had. Those are the two that's heavily stuck out.
I thought they were. I thought it was one of the first men's physique Olympias that I really got excited about. And I mean, it's really whatever you like. I mean, I don't know to be honest with you, I don't really know what the judges love about Ryan Terry, other than he really doesn't have weaknesses. He's pretty well balanced, but there's nothing like spectacular, about him. And sometimes balance, and he's obviously always in great shape. His conditioning is stellar. Next, probably the best conditioning on the stage. But like nothing pops out at me as like saying holy mackerel. Like when Aaron Banks was winning shows, I was impressed. I'm even more impressed with Brandon Hendrickson, to be honest with you. Now, Brandon Hendrickson doesn't have the conditioning of Ryan Terry, but Ali Bilal does, and that's why I thought that Ali should have won. But what do I know? I don't know. I'm just that's just my observation.
Well, Dave, the interesting thing is, like, I'm obviously biased towards Ali, but like you just talked about like agreeing with the scores and agreeing with the judges, and I went through like the top five in the other divisions, and I thought it was spot on. So I thought it was unanimous for Ryan, and that's why I prefaced it with like I'm no expert by any stretch in men's physique. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so obviously they got those divisions right, and this one was like unanimous, straight one. So they obviously got that division right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the problem with men's physique, it's a lot like bikini. You can kind of justify different physiques winning. Whereas with bodybuilding and classic, we know what we're looking for. Muscle size, conditioning, symmetry. You could tell who the winner is. With men's physique, you could really make a case for several different people winning. Just like in bikini. The girl who won, Maureen Blanquista, who was a former champion, I didn't think she looked that great. I don't even know what the criteria was that they picked her. I thought some of the other girls were amazing. I thought Lorelai Chapatos was amazing, who won last year, and she didn't even make the top five. So you can really justify it in the divisions where muscle is not necessarily, the most important aspect of the equation. You could make judgment calls and change your mind on what you want to be the new standard. So obviously, they want Ryan to be the standard right now that they're looking for. Obviously, Maureen Blanquista in the bikini is the standard they're looking for, for that. Natalia Coelho, who won the women's physique. You and I can understand why she won. She was in better shape than Sarah. Sarah was not in the best shape of her life. Her tan was bad. Natalia's, presentation is amazing, and she just out-polished the champ, and she won. And we understand that. But then you go to another division that when wait till they start bringing Fit Model in next year. We'll never be able to tell what the reason is. It'll be whatever that standard is for that particular year. So I think that's where men's physique and bikini get a little lost. A lot of people who are used to judging these shows based on what we know about bodybuilding doesn't necessarily apply all the time to those divisions. And maybe that's why the hardcore bodybuilders don't really like those divisions as much, because there is a level of we're really not sure how to judge it, at the end of the day. I want to finish with one final story, Chris. I know you got to go drive home, and I'm losing my voice. I'm in the expo. I'm sitting on the steps, and there was I should give him a plug. I was getting worked on by this guy who works on Hunter Labrada in Texas, and I'll look up this thing in a minute. He worked on me for 45 minutes. Unbelievable. My shoulders feel great. He loosened my neck up and everything like that. And this man comes up to me and he says, leans down, leans over. He's like, "Who do you think's going to win the men's Mr. Olympia?" This is Friday afternoon, but before the prejudging had taken place. And I'm like, I said, personally, I like Derek's physique the best. He's the most complete. I said, but you never know. Samson is the reigning champ. He goes, "You gave me the right answer." I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "I'm Derek's father."
Oh, that's funny.
So Derek's father came and he watches our coverage, and we were BSing after that for like about a half hour. But yeah, it was Derek's dad. So he's like, I wanted to see what you're gonna say. I said, "Well, I guess I gave you the right answer." I said, I hope we're both right. And of course we were. So it was a little bit of divine intervention there, and a little prophecy maybe all combined together. Derek, did the impossible. He won the Triple Crown. Arnold, Pittsburgh, Olympia, all in 1 year. He also is the first man to ever win more than $1 million in one calendar year in prize money. Congratulations to that. And he's only the second guy, right, to win back the Olympia title after he lost it. Yeah. Jay Cutler being the first guy.
It's been a remarkable year for him, really. I mean, he beat everyone 3 times.
Did you talk to him about 2026 yet, or we don't know?
No. Something tells me he may want to compete again.
I think he's going to want to do the Arnold.
He's very competitive,
I know. I don't blame him.
He's like the, he's like the energetic dog who always wants to go out and play. You know what I mean? And if you don't let him out and play, he's going to rip apart your house.
But you know what? $750,000 is a lot of reasons to do the Arnold Classic.
You know what? It's at the point now where a lot of people would say, like after the Olympia, no, I'm gonna
shut it down.
Shut it down. Who invented that? Shut it down.
I don't even know.
Shut it down. And you have to do this. If I shut it down, someone else may get the 750, and it's not.
Yeah.
And what if someone else decides not to do the show? And what if the top 3 don't decide to do the show?
Right.
If 2, 3, and 4, and 5 decide to shut it down, Derek in his mind may say, like, maybe I'll do it. Or if Derek announces and Hadi announces and Andrew Jack say, I'm shutting it down, you don't think Samson would say, like, I'm, putting it back into 3rd gear?
I guarantee you Samson's going to be in that show. Samson likes money. I know that, and I don't blame him. 700, like 750 is 750, man. That's a lot of cash.
It never, it never crossed my mind about it. Money never crosses my mind in terms of, like, these things, but it crosses your mind when you say, in a few months, someone can win 750. If you're a bodybuilder and you're a professional bodybuilder, and that's how you make your living. Yeah. It's extremely hard to pass up the Arnold Classic at 750,000. I mean, I'm just thinking it for the first time. Take that check for 750.
I know why you're thinking. You're thinking I could buy an apartment building with that.
It's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah. You can do a lot of great things and set up your whole future with that. I mean, that's the God honest truth. I mean, Derek is making in the next 3 years he could make $3 million, and that's his retirement for the rest of his life. I mean, because let's face it, his body's not going to last forever, so he might as well cash in now while he can. And he's the best bodybuilder right now in the world, so no one can beat him. Why not do the show? I mean, who's out there that's going to take him down? That's the question.
He's going to watch. I will make this prediction. He's going to watch the show, and those prior 4 sentences that you just said right into his head, and he's going to take 5 days off where he doesn't eat perfectly, and that is going to recycle into his head.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, why not? Of course it would recycle into your head. It's just like...
No one beat him all 2025. He hasn't lost one time.
Big enticement. The only issue is, of course, or for all these guys, is injuries, because when you diet down, you're so vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What becomes vulnerable is your joints and ligaments.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to, like, be in a dieted state and come back, and let your body weight come up and then diet it down. It's just anything, you can pull anything.
One more question I have for you, and then I'm going to let you go. I know I said I lied already, but Nick Walker, I don't know what his next competition is. If I'm Nick Walker, I'd go to Prague and compete. What do you think about that? He's got to get back on that horse, I think, very quickly. He can't afford to shut it down for the year. I really believe that 100%. He needs to get his mojo back.
What do you mean? Like he needs a win to be able to motivate himself?
Or a very high placing. Yeah, a win would be great, obviously, but he definitely needs to get back on that stage, bring that Nick Walker energy. Don't worry about how you're going to place, and finish the year on a positive note. I really believe it.
Yeah, I mean it's.
He could win Prague. He could win Prague.
I mean, he could win Prague, but you don't know how people respond to adversity. Because people respond in different ways. When the second, you hear people out on Instagram talking about adversity. It's because there's different levels of adversity, which takes me back to. We can close the show by saying, Derek just got the title back, but of course he didn't lose the title last year to Sampson. He lost it to two people, Sampson and Hadi. So
right.
I mean, talk about adversity.
Yep.
She does talk about a lot, but going from first to third, or Sampson, he had the title last year. He went from first to fourth. They both were in the same. Derek's was in the same boat this time last year as Sampson is this year. Leaving Las Vegas, I lost my title and I'm third. Or leaving Las Vegas, I lost my title and now I'm fourth. It's very emotionally and mentally hard to take for anyone, no matter how focused and positive they are, no matter how many times they've won. Nothing's harder than not only not winning, but dropping 2 and 3 places down.
But you know what? Nick hadn't been in the Olympia for 2 years, so this was his comeback year, and now he's just going to move up from here. So I think.
Well, I mean,
Nick,
his is a pendulum because he said, of course, that he was going to win.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a difference between leaving the show and say, well, I made the prediction, I got second. I made the prediction and I was close, I got third and I was in that mix. I made the prediction and I was fourth. Made the prediction and he was, probably eighth in prejudging.
Yeah. Look, if I were him, I'd say, I'm just coming back. I'm going to be my best. And you know what, Nick Walker, you're stronger than you think. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And that's going to do it for today. As we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Thanks for watching all our Olympia coverage. We'll see you next time.